call a meeting to order. Would you please join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you haven't signed the register in the back of the room, we'd appreciate it if you do so. Roll call of the board.
Ms. Dawn.
Here.
Ms. Quintero. Ms. Fernandez.
Here.
Mr. Jaramillo. Present. Mr. Crouch.
Present. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn.
Yes.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Aye.
Mr. Crouch.
Aye. Next, we have governing board comments. Ms. Dong.
Just real quick about a meeting that we just had. I thought it was really great, because sometimes we spend so much time on other things that we don't always focus on our gifted students and some of their opportunities. And it was great. Right now, we just had a quick little look at some of the things that are happening and the strategic plans that are occurring with that, and delving deeper into what's going on with the gifted program and the students that fall under that that umbrella. We don't usually talk about them. They kind of are there, but we don't do a lot with them. So I thought it was really great today to be able to have a little forum, little meeting to talk about the missions, to talk about the opportunities, and to talk about how to make everything even more better with what it is that we are doing already. So that was really nice.
Thank you, Ms. Dong. Mr. Jaramillo.
I want to ditto what Mrs. Dong had to say, but I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's here tonight and everybody that's involved with the school district. Thank you for a wonderful year. I think it's another successful year. Just realized I just told next week's graduation. So, wow. Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez. I'd just like to echo what Ms. Dong said about the gifted program. It was really enlightening to see what we're doing within the district, and also to see how we can better integrate what we're doing with other programs, with our CTE programs, with our college academies, and how we can move that together. And this year has gone really fast as far as I'm concerned. It's unbelievable that we have 3 graduations next week. So that's just fantastic. Mr. Holmes?
President Couch, members of the governing board, members of the audience, I just have a couple announcements as a superintendent's report. First, just want to thank everyone who participated in the Comunidad event this last week. God, it seems like a blur, right? That's a lot. Everything's. Was it a month ago? It's like last week that we had an opportunity to have a lot of our schools represented, showcasing student talent, showcasing our teachers' work in the classrooms. We had multiple agencies there supporting our schools. I think we had even 2 stages this, right? We had the auditorium and the other stage in terms of just performances. And we had a unique opportunity to really try to make this also about the educational component, and had two panels. We had a student panel who were just amazing and really discussing some of their experiences and what it means to be a participant, an active participant in learning in this day and age in Sunnyside, followed by a panel where we were able to discuss issues of equity. We have links to this on Facebook if you want to see kind of the whole experience there, but we had a great panel, representation from the University of Arizona, representation from Raytheon, the nonprofit sector, former teachers. I think that gave a pretty good discussion that really highlights the work in Sunnyside, and more specifically the work that we still have to do in this space of equity. So I want to thank everyone who participated. I think we have a couple other slides showing some of the robotics, some of our students there. There's one of our students here is going to be being celebrated tonight. Let's see. There's our folklorico group, mariachis. There's our parent. There's kind of in the entryway. Got some of our officers there as well. So I thought it was a really good ceremony. So congratulations. We also have, quickly today, we were able to have our signing day for Sunnyside students at Sunnyside High School. We had 17 students, athletes, committed to junior colleges and universities throughout the country to play for sports, continue their academic and their sports pathways. Sunnyside's student athletes have been offered $1.8 million roughly in scholarships for the upcoming school year. A lot of talent. You can see our wrestling program represented there, our softball program, see our coaches. We had a lot from our soccer team, male and female soccer as well, and to see our coaches. One thing that I think should make us very proud is that our coaches have taken this idea of college and career readiness very seriously. So it's not just about winning off the and on the field, but also in the classrooms. And I think we're starting to see that turn in terms of the amount of scholarships. Kids are playing at a competitive level, but equally important, we're celebrating their successes as well. So thank you, Sunnyside High School. Waiting for Desert View to give me their list, Ms. Rosas, when you got it. So we'll have Desert View up there this next board meeting as well. That concludes our superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Would the superintendent and board join me in front of the dais? Our first recognition is Heather Morgan. Heather, join us up here. The Sunnyside Unified School District Governing Board recognizes Heather Morgan, a fifth grade instructor from Los Amigos Technical Academy, for earning her national board certification. It's a voluntary advanced teaching credential that goes beyond state licensure. The national board certifies teachers who successfully complete its rigorous certification process. I happen to have a little bit of knowledge of what that is because my daughter did that a couple years ago, and I watched her go through it. So it's a very, very arduous, rigorous program. So congratulations. Would you like to say anything? You don't have to. Come on in for a photo op.
Over here real quick. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Can I do one?
Yeah, take one.
1, 2, 3.
So for those of you that don't know, all those pictures in the back there are national board certified instructors, so you'll join the Wall of Fame of our national board, and well deserved. It is a rigorous process, and those that go through it are well deserving of minimally a photo up here. But I think the major impact is with our students and the commitment they have as professional students. So I thank you as superintendent from the board as well. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to have NJ Utter come up and do the next presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Crouch. I'm proud to be here this evening as your Director of Career and Technical Education, and I've been here on many different nights when we are celebrating state championships, which is a wonderful thing to celebrate. What I have the honor to introduce to you tonight is students who qualified through a state championship to participate in a national championship. So they're going off to places like Texas and Florida and Kentucky. A couple groups have already been, some are going this summer through their Career and Technical Education Student Organization. So the Sunnyside Unified School District Governing Board would like to acknowledge your outstanding performance at the state level of your Career and Technical Education competition, which has qualified you for competition at the national level. Your knowledge, skills, and abilities in the area of CTE are outstanding, and we are proud to have you represent Sunnyside Unified School District. So I'm going to ask them to come up with their teacher and stay up front with me, even though I know it's going to get a little crowded. We had over 20 students qualify for national competition. And so I'm going to begin with the CTSO of DECA, because we actually had students from both Desert View and Sunnyside qualify for the national championship for the DECA competition. From the Sales and Marketing Program at Sunnyside High School, Ms. Terry Bible, if you would still please come forward with several of your students who are here tonight. Thank you, Ms. Bible. Paulina Hernandez, if you could come forward. Yamilet Cruz Casillas. Alicia Sanchez. And Leslie Mesa Perez. From Desert View High School, also competing in DECA, Mr. Hector Reyes, Sales and Business Operations and Hospitality Instructor, and his students. The only one who could be here tonight is Ali Hassan. From Sunnyside High School, competing in FBLA this summer, heading to San Antonio in the area of business management, Miss Anna Danahy of Sunnyside High School and her student, David Diaz. Also from Sunnyside High School, competing in the HOSA competition and heading to Florida this summer is Mr. Peter Chen from Emergency Medical Services and his students, Karime Portillo, Miriam Quesada, and Daphne Flores. And last but not least, competing in the areas of manufacturing and drafting with the Skills USA competition, I'm proud to ask Mr. Cesar Gutierrez to come to the front with us as well. Joined by a few of his students, Clarissa Frisbee, Adrian Juarez, Kobe Howard, Ramon Cáceres, Azucena Mendoza, Ismael Barbosa, and Brianna Rodriguez. We are very, very proud of you all. Can we have you kind of move in so we can get a photo op? And then Maria's been kind enough to say that once we have the whole group photo, we're going to step into the foyer, and you can do individual group shots with teachers we'd like you to do as well. But if we can get a picture with the governing board. Okay, Maria, how can we help you? Mr. Dutiel can take care of this, I'm sure. Thank you, Ramon. Go ahead, you're okay. Come on, there's room here. You guys are all on pictures all over the district, too. Thank you.
Okay,
We
now,
good?
I have one request before you go back to your seats. If we could form a line and come by and go through the gauntlet of shaking the hands of all the board
Awesome.
members.
They practice this, Mr. Crouch. They'll be really good at it. Watch and see. Why don't you guys come on this way, and then the governing board would like to do a personal congratulations to each one of you as well. Thank you. And while we're waiting, I want to do a personal thank you off script to Mr. Peter Chen and his emergency medical services students for helping us with the graduation requirement of doing a CPR lesson. So his students led that work. Thank you.
And that concludes our recognitions for the evening. Thank you.
We're gonna find Hector.
Graduations are pretty good.
Yes, I'm looking
the
forward
best.
to it.
Next week, I can't believe that.
Next on the agenda, we have call to the audience. Curtis Dutel. Oh, give us a moment to set up the podium.
I think he's out there.
Curtis is.
Curtis is outside,
Awesome.
taking pictures from us.
I know that's what I'm used to doing. I've known him for so many years.
You're up.
I was trying to watch the agenda. Where is it coming up? Hi, most of you know me. I'm the yearbook and photography teacher at Desert View. I just thought I'd take advantage of the yearbooks getting here a day early, and I knew there was a board meeting, and you're going to learn more about our STEM program. Several of the girls who were involved with the yearbook are members of that, so I knew about the board meeting, plus I did a rush print job for Miss Rosas this afternoon. And unfortunately, the two ladies who were really instrumental in putting this book together, who are also in the STEM, couldn't be here today because of other commitments. But I do have two young ladies who did work on the yearbook, and if they will stand up. And if Mariah will get the camera too. Stand up. She's going to try and be shy now. No. Yes, I called you out. So I'm going to present this to Mr. Holmes. It's still wrapped.
Oh, wow.
Pass it around. Thank you. Thank you.
They finally got to
Enjoy.
be on the
I'm
other
really
side of the
proud of the
lens.
book, the design. Yeah, open it. Pass it around. I'm really proud of the design. It's student-driven. One young lady, Mariah, who's one of the ones who couldn't be here, really drove the cover design with input from students, and it just, I'm really proud of what they accomplished. So, thank you. Yeah, it's yours, and then you guys can fight. Well, I don't know. You're his bosses. You can make that. I'm just-
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Dutel. Yolanda Herrera. Oh, there you are.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, members of the board, Superintendent Mr. Holmes, staff, and members of the audience. My name is Yolanda Herrera, President of the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association. I would like to take this time to thank all of our partners in this year's successful 26th All-American Student Awards. I would like to thank all who participated in another successful year honoring over 1,035 students to date. You know, food service does an excellent job when people ask for their recipes. Thank you for all the principals and teachers who not only nominated students, but who also took the time to attend in support of their students. There were a few mistakes in spelling of
Excuse me
names.
for just a second. We can't shut the doors. We cannot shut the doors.
Yeah, we're keeping it open.
Okay.
Can't
Continue,
take
sorry.
that away from my time? Okay. There were a few mistakes in the spelling of names and a few errors in dates. We are working in making those corrections and delivery of corrected certificates. On a very sad note, Board Clerk Becky Quintero's heart is broken down to her soul. Our beloved Peace Garden in the Sunnyside Neighborhood Association's gym in the Manuel Herrera Junior Park was horribly vandalized, worse than ever, and would have been worse if some youth did not go running to report the damage and process to Becky's house. And this was yesterday. There is too much hate in our world, especially when kids think it is okay to destroy our Peace Garden. If anyone knows who those vandals are, please report to TPD. You may remain anonymous. Thank you. Please let us live in peace. Do no harm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herrera.
Mr. Crouch?
That's, yes, Ms. Dong.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is Imagine Your STEM Future.
Good afternoon, members of the board, President Crouch. I have the honor of presenting to you Mr. Jose Gastelum and Ms. Rosemary Rosas, who will be presenting to you about Imagine Your iSTEM.
Thank you, President Crouch, Superintendent Holmes, members of the governing board, members of the audience. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Imagine Our iSTEM Future. This is a program, and just want to give you some context and a little bit of background information on how this all started. So the program started in 2012. It was a partnership with Raytheon and at the time Girl Scouts, and has evolved with other programs like SARCEF and U of A iSTEM as well. The purpose of the program was to introduce our young women to the field of STEM and engineering. And so we started this in 2012. We started in one classroom at the freshman level with 25 girls and one math teacher. And and from there, it just took off. And in terms of the partnership with you'll meet Michelle Higgins here in a little bit, and Shalane Simmons from Raytheon. I mean, it was a hit from the get-go. And again, the purpose was to not only introduce our female students to the field of engineering, but also to, Mr. Holmes talked a little bit about that equity piece, and that our female students can compete, and our female students can be independent. And over the years, this has grown from 25 students to hundreds of students that have gone through the program. Now this partnership is represented at every grade level. We have engineers from Raytheon and other organizations that come and volunteer their own time to work with our students. And they're going to get into the details of some of those pieces of work. But I believe what I'm most proud of is that those pieces that we talk about as a school district in terms of learning, our female students, these young women, have created this sense of identity. They've created their own agency in terms of being resilient, and we're meeting that equity piece in this area as well. So what I'm excited to hear is the student testimonials that are here today, and we've had several of our young women that have gone on into not only engineer field and been successful, but also not only are they STEM ready, they're life ready, and we're very proud of that. So I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Rosas, principal of Desert View High School.
Let me just say, I love to hear him say principal of Desert View High School, let me tell you. All right. Well, President Crouch and board members, respected board members, and Superintendent Holmes, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the Imagine Your STEM Future program at Desert View High School. As Mr. Gastelum said, the program actually is with industry partners, and right now the partners are Raytheon, SARCEF, and the University of Arizona STEM program. And we have champions from each of those industry partners. We have Ms. Shalane Simmons from Raytheon. We have Sarah Kobilka. Now, Sarah is actually leaving us this year. She's been with us several years. She's with SARCEF. And tonight with us, who will present as well, is Michelle Higgins, and she is with the U of A STEM Learning Center. So So just to give you some context on the program demographics, we are in our 7th year. 2012 was our very first year. We started with a freshman class of about 25 students, and we utilized a math class to introduce this program. Right now, what we estimate is over the years to now, we've had approximately 425 girls go through the program, which is just amazing. Mr. Jaramillo, you know what it was like when you were there. Right now, we have 55 freshman students, 27 sophomores, 28 juniors, and 26 seniors. And now this program is optional, so the students decide whether to opt in. I want to tell you a little bit about the students that I have with me today. So this evening, I'm losing my time here, we have Josefina Mercado. Josefina, can you wave? Josefina is a senior in our program, and they'll talk about those lovely sashes that they're wearing. Lily Hernandez. And then we're so excited because we have an alumni who's in her 3rd year at the University of Arizona studying law, and her name is Ruth Ballesteros Sainz. Ruth. And then we have some teachers here tonight. We have a Desert View alumni who is a science teacher. Miss Serena Martinez is here. And she helps to co-teach the freshman STEM program. And then we have Miss Erin Rauschat, and she helps to co-teach the senior STEM program. So as Mr. Gastelum said, the program was incepted to allow opportunities for girls to study fields and activities and careers in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematic fields. We have mentors from Raytheon that come to our school for first hour, first period. So they come before they go into work, and they mentor our girls. Not only do they serve as mentors for activities, but they also serve as mentors for lifelong learning, mentors for advocacy, and mentors for leadership for these girls. So we're very fortunate. And then, of course, girls have the opportunity to develop their skills in science and engineering. But as I stated just a bit ago, they really learn a lot about self-advocacy, a lot about leadership, and a lot about building their career in a science and math field. But even further, we have some of our students that do choose to go to college based on the emphasis and support that they've received throughout this program. And so before I turn this over to Michelle Higgins, who will tell you a little bit more about the program, I know Mr. Dutiel told you about this, what he made for me earlier. I wanted to give you an example. Last night we had our senior awards, and what I have for you right now is you'll see pictures of our senior girls that are graduating from the STEM program, and we've placed the university they're going into, and we've also placed their major. And so you'll be excited to see we have a future brain surgeon here, we have some future psychologists, future teachers, future nurses, and so I'd like to just pass this around. Don't mind. And you can take a look at that as you hear the rest of the presentation. So Michelle, if you could come on up.
Good evening. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk about this program. So I was one of the founders along with Shalane Simmons from Raytheon, and really Raytheon approached us and said, you know, we know that girls come into high school interested in STEM and have the skills and potential, and somewhere along the line, by the time they graduate, they've lost their interest, they've lost their self-confidence, and because of that, maybe they haven't taken enough math and science classes to really give them that sound footing in college to major in STEM. You know, how can we do this? And so that's how we came up with this project 7 years ago. And now to think that so many girls continue to stay in this program is just really amazing. So our model is really to provide girls with STEM challenges. So we don't necessarily teach STEM content. That's what, you know, our wonderful teachers are doing. What we're asking the girls is to apply what they're learning in small groups, to work collaboratively, all of those soft skills that we know they need in some of their early science and engineering classes at universities. So these pictures show some of the girls building a greenhouse on the property. So they dug the holes, they filled it with concrete and set the posts in, and the walls and the roof are all made with recycled water bottles. So we're hoping to use this as a base for student-led research on campus. So this is just some of the girls doing the projects. You know, we don't do like super hard science projects. What we really are asking the girls is learn how to communicate. When you get frustrated, what's another option than rolling your eyes? Right? Because we know that happens in high school. But that's something that we can address. Our model also includes having circle time. So we gather the girls in a circle and we ask them a question, and it could just be use a weather term to describe how you're feeling today, or tell us about some of the big stressors that you're having this week. And time again, I've heard girls in the freshman classes, they don't know what to say. But sophomore, they start opening up. By the time they're in junior and senior, they're saying things like, nobody's asked me before. I never knew I always thought I was the only one who felt this way. That's what we're trying to build as community. So they realize that school is hard. And when they get to college, it is going to be hard. But they're not the only ones who feel that way. And that's something that, you know, nobody tells them. So as they work with the mentors in the class, the mentors are also there just to check in with girls. The mentors commit for the full academic year. So sometimes they either come once a week or twice a week, but they're there building that year-long relationship with the girls. And these are some pictures. The girls recently went to Tumamoc Hill and visited with some of the scientists who do science along the trail there. And so this year, we've had an amazing number of scientists and engineers coming in from the university and talking about the pathway that they took. We had a woman who's in mathematics who came in and said, you know, when I was in high school, I wasn't even very good in math, right? Because girls think like you have to be something perfect, right? So we try to tell them that it's for everyone and they can do it. So that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, girls, it's time. I'm so excited. So now our students would like to share their experiences that they're having in the program. And now our two students are seniors and they're going to come up. I want you to take particular notice to their lovely sashes that they will be wearing next Wednesday at graduation. So girls, come on up. And whoever wants to go first.
Good evening. My name is Josefina Mercado. I'm a senior here at Desert View High School, and I'm presented here on behalf of STEM class, the STEM Girl class. The main goal of our class is to inspire young girls to explore the STEM field in a comfortable environment where we're not ridiculed for our ideas and questions. We engage in group discussions and projects with the sole purpose of teamwork and new learning experiences that all relate to STEM field. And this year, we did a lot of things having to do with the STEM field. Actually, our class, two students in our class, me and my friend Mariah, my other classmate, went to Raytheon to record a video for them, and that was the first time I ever went to Raytheon, and that was very, very life-changing for me. I know for a lot of people, they see the building and they think, oh, it's not that important, but from being raised here in Tucson, Arizona, I've always known that building, but I always never went in that building. And when I went in there, I was like, oh, wow, I'm learning secrets, but it wasn't it wasn't anything like that. It was actually very welcoming, and I got to learn a lot about what they were doing, and it's really interesting. But a thing I would like to really say here is that this would not all be possible if it wasn't for my wonderful teacher, Miss Rouse. Where is she? She really changed everything in, like, because I've been in this this class for 3 years, and she really changed the direction of where it was going, and it actually started really making me feel like I was an adult. Like, this was the first experience I have of being an adult. I have more advocacy over my life and what I have to do, and she also helped me do my FAFSA too, so thanks about that. But I'd like to say to Rouse that I am thankful to have had you as a STEM teacher this year. This year being our last year of high school, you've made a positive impact on all of us. You opened the classroom up to hundreds of new opportunities and helped us understand the importance of independence. And that when we get older, the more we will have to advocate for ourselves. Learning to change a wheel on a car, change the tire on a car, has helped us understand much more than just mechanics. I feel like this is the most important lesson to learn before we graduate, and I am thankful that you took the time to organize a trip for us. I also appreciate that you were more interested in what the girls wanted to do and was able to organize events and have people come over and teach us what we wanted. By doing this, you showed that you cared about our opinion in what we wanted to learn. Thank you so much for this knowledge that you've taught us, and I hope that your years will be less stressful and your coffee cup is always full.
Hi, I just wanted to say, like, this is one of the examples of how we, as students, we grew closer to someone older than us. Sorry, not like just a little older than us. Just a little older than us. In, like, more of a STEM bond. Because, like, they would have never met, or Fina and Miss Rouse would have never met if this class would have never happened, and you guys made this happen. She talks to me all the time about how she, like, admires Miss Rouse so much, and it's, like, the sweetest thing in the world just to hear her say, like, oh, I want to be like Miss Rouse. Miss Rouse is, like, my mom, and, like, it's true, if it wasn't for this program, that would have never happened, so I do want to say thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful, girls. I'm proud of you. Well, do you have any questions for us? We have our 2 teachers here, we have our wonderful champion, and we have our students, and we are open to any questions that you might have.
Ms. Dawn?
They're going to come to the podium. Have the teachers come to the podium. I know that you do a lot of different projects. I saw the greenhouse. I'm sure there were some other ones. What were some of the most, you feel, the most impactful projects that you did with the students?
So I've worked with the sophomores and the seniors, and last year the sophomores did the greenhouse. And I will say not only was that the biggest project we've done, but it probably required the students to use the most skills. Like, in addition to STEM skills, they had to really work on their group dynamics and their organization and their all of that, bring that all together to put together a greenhouse by the end of the school year. And so I think that was probably the most comprehensive one that really required all things that the program is about.
Right. I think for our freshman girls, the one that they enjoyed the most and the one I saw the most growth within them was they built a roller coaster out of straws. They had, I think it was like 72 straws, and most of them only used like less than half of them. And so it was really cool to see them work together and, you know, trying a little ping pong ball and seeing it fall off, and then them get frustrated and figure out, like, we need rails, cut some straws. And the group work amongst them, the level of communication that they have now compared to the beginning of the school year is remarkable, and I can't wait to see, like, where they go or where they'll be in 4 years.
Sounds great. It sounds like they really took charge of their learning with this.
Mr. Holmes?
Just where former students, just you can stay, but draw a through line for me from this program and then now where you're at in law, and how make a connection for me.
Make a connection. So I was actually, I believe, I was the first class, right, Michelle, to do this program. And let's see, I was a freshman, and then sophomore, and then junior, and then a senior. And I think these types of programs, I wasn't only a participant for the STEM ECAP, but I did JTED as well. And I think just different programs help us kind of guide us towards what type of career we want to do or what we want to be in life. And I think the STEM ECAP kind of prepared me for that. Even though I'm not really like in the engineering field or like the STEM field, I feel like it kind of helped me decide what I wanted to do. And now I'm studying law. But I feel like I had such a great time, great memories with my friends. I made a lot of friends, you know, projects. I loved it. And like I said, it helps us. It's more comfortable, I feel, you know, in a space just with girls. And it motivates us, encourages us, and empowers us too. Because it's not really, you don't really see a lot of girls in the STEM field. So I feel like these programs are really important, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And I'm grateful for Michelle. I didn't get to be in your guys' class, but I had a great, it was a great opportunity.
I have a question for the former student and the current students. What would be the best way for us as a district to encourage other girls to get involved in it and to expand the program?
I think a way to expand the program would definitely introduce it to the freshmen oncoming students, definitely usher the importance of women in STEM, and honestly, being in that kind of environment really makes me confident that I'm not going to be ridiculed for whatever I say, whatever questions I have, whatever thoughts I have, and it's just a very safe environment to be, and I feel like that should really be the message too, because for me, when I was young, trying to get into science and math, I get one question wrong and everybody laughs at me, but being in the STEM class, you're free to make as many mistakes as you want and learn from your mistakes, and I feel like actually starting off with STEM as a freshman would definitely be the best thing you could possibly do. You'll make lifelong friends. You'll get a really good experience and a good mindset about what science, technology, and engineering and mathematics could do for your future and for you, and inspire you and build you up.
So I think we should capture some of that as an ambassador to our incoming freshmen.
Honestly, I think they're off to a great start. They already have all like different partners. What was it, Raytheon, Sarsev? Yeah. I think they're off to a good start, and I think it's just going to expand, and it's just going to motivate more girls to be in the field, STEM fields.
I would never have thought since I was small that I would ever go into Raytheon. I am so obsessed with it now. I love it.
I can trump that.
Nope. Thank you very much. Very inspiring.
Yes.
Lost my agenda.
You gotta top that. You gotta top that. You're next.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Next on the agenda is the fiscal year 2018 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And Mrs. Dong said it best, top that.
We'll have a very difficult time doing it. Good evening, President Crouch, board members, Superintendent Holmes. The outside audit firm of Heinfeld and Meach has completed their audit of our fiscal year 18 expenditures. The end result is a document to which you receive a hard copy of, and it's also an attachment to the agenda item tonight, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report itself. Along with this report, there's some communications to the governing board, a single audit reporting package, and the FY18 compliance questionnaire. Representatives from Heinfeld and Meach are here tonight. Ms. Cynthia Rojo and Mr. Chris Heinfeld are here to make a presentation to the governing board and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Encinas.
All right, well, good evening, Governing Board President Crouch, Governing Board members, Superintendent Holmes, and staff. Obviously, a very tough act to follow. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to live up to that, but we'll do our best. What we will be talking, like Mr. Encinas mentioned, is just about the results of the 2018 audit, and we'll briefly go over everything at a very high level, but feel free, interrupt us if you do have any questions throughout the process. We'll be talking not only about the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or the CAFR, but as well the Single Audit Reporting Package and the USFR Compliance Questionnaire. To begin with, I am going to talk about a communication letter that hopefully made its way to each of you. If not, let us know and we can make sure we get an additional copy to you. It's only a 3-page letter. I encourage you all to read it. The important parts are noted in the letter, whether there's any disagreements with management, which there were none, if we had any difficulties during the audit, which we did not know any, and then any additional audit adjustments we wanted to single out in the letter. But with that, I'll just jump into the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Really big, lengthy document. The districts received a reward, though, for preparing this in the Certification of Excellence in Financial Reporting for, I think, 33 straight years now, which is an incredible accomplishment. But the major sort of Cliff Notes version of this, I tell people, is the Management Discussion and Analysis section. It's a current year to prior year comparison, explains any drastic changes, whether it be on the expenses side or on the revenue side. And then as well as the statistical section at the end of the report, it's got 10-year trend analysis, so you can again see how the district's been performing in some of those financial indicators over the last 10 years. But it also looks at some of the other demographic information or other operating statistics that may play into some of those financial numbers for you to use. And then the last 2 sections are at the very front of the report. I know I'm sort of going all over the place, but bear with me. Is the transmittal letter. That's the district's opportunity to really talk about what the district's doing in the current year, major projects or initiatives in the upcoming year, and then the independent auditor's report follows that, in which we would give our audit opinion on the financial statements, which, as in prior years, is clean and unmodified opinion, which is why you're able to submit for the awards related to the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cynthia Rojo to briefly talk to you about the Single Audit Reporting Package as well as the USFR Compliance Questionnaire.
So the next document you should have within your package should be your single audit reporting package. Within this report, you'll be able to see 2 different audit reports. One on page 1 is a report on internal controls over financial reporting. This is sort of like a brief overview of the scope of the audit that we performed and what test work we performed on internal controls, as well as any results that came from it. The second letter from the auditors that you'll see is on page 2, and this is a report on compliance for each major federal program. Each year we sample different federal programs based on whether they're high risk, the amount of expenditures out of each award. This past year, FY18, we looked at the Child Nutrition Program as well as the 21st Century Grant and the School Improvement Grants. If you move on to page 9, you'll be able to see a quick summary of the federal programs that we looked at, as well as any deficiencies that were noted either in internal controls related to financial reporting or your federal awards. We did not note any deficiencies in internal controls related to federal awards. We did, however, note 2 deficiencies over internal controls over financial reporting, and you'll be able to see those on pages 10 and 11. The format of these 2 findings should be the same for both of the items noted. You'll be able to see a criteria, which is sort of like the rules and regulations that have to be followed by the district. The condition is just a brief overview of what we ran into in order to report this issue, followed by the cause and the effect. The cause for these 2 reportable items was due to the implementation of the new financial management system, and the effect we would just know what could have happened or what did happen because of the deficiency in the internal controls. And then you'll see the context, which is a lot more detail on what we noted on the condition above. And then lastly, you'll be able to see the recommendation from us, as well as a statement referencing you to the corrective action plans provided by management in order to correct these deficiencies.
And the last report we have is the USFR compliance questionnaire. This is a 29-page document put out by the Office of the Auditor General with over 200 questions. All these questions, we're engaged to perform this test work. All these questions have to be answered with either a yes or a no or a not applicable to the district. So you'll be able to see once you're going through it, if we answered yes to a question, it means we did not run into any non-compliance issues throughout the test work and our sampling. If you see any no's, it means that within the sample that we looked at, there were deficiencies, and you should be able to see within the comments sections what the issues we ran into were. With that, any questions on either of the 4 reports?
Doesn't appear to be.
Great. Well, thank you again very much for your time. We appreciate it. If you do have any questions in the future, would like to reach out to us, feel free to do so. We're more than happy. We like to say we're your auditors year-round, not just while we're on site or during the actual engagement period.
Mr. Holmes?
I just have a question. So as public looks through these documents and stuff, I mean, just in a quick summary, what does it all mean if I'm looking at this in like glossy-eyed?
Yeah.
I mean, because I know we do this annually, but maybe just a quick overview for those that are kind of new to the process, just so you can kind of give us a quick, what does it all mean, this presentation?
Yeah, so I'll jump in and Cynthia add to it as you feel appropriate. So really just a state compliance questionnaire. Like Cynthia said, yes, no. No district's ever perfect. You guys are here to really push for the education of students, as we sort of saw before. I mean, that's where you want to push for all your money to be spent. So I always encourage districts, try to stay on compliance as well as you can, but obviously human error happens, and this is a very detailed look at items. And if you do have any concerns, I would be more concerned about anything reported in the single audit reporting package. This more looks at your financial statements and internal controls overall, as well as your federal spending. I mean, the state might argue a little differently, but I get to be an objective third party, I think, hopefully. Did that help at all, or help answer your question, Mr. Holmes?
Just basically, as Chris and Cynthia did note in their statements, that there were some findings that they did find, which were included in the reports, and they indicated that this was directly as a result of our transition from the old APTA system to our new vision system, so there's a learning curve there. I take full responsibility, so does my staff, in terms of some of those findings in regards to, like, for instance, reconciliation of cash should have been done on a monthly basis. And the reporting on the federal projects, in addition to that, was also a finding. And we have taken steps, correctional steps, to make sure that this doesn't happen next year. So I'm going to assure the governing board that you won't find these findings next year. And I'll bet my job on it.
Don't go overboard, Hector.
Ms. Dong?
That was basically my question in here, was taking a look at some of these. It sounded like it was mostly because of the new program. Now just my question was going to be, have you guys been able to?
Yeah, we're working on it right now. We scheduled in-service training with Heinfeld and Meach. As a matter of fact, the capital assets, fixed assets, was one of the findings in terms of being able to depreciate and roll over the value of our fixed assets from the old APTA system to the new visions. There were some issues there as far as being able to import everything. So we're working on that. We're having some training done, and we'll get it fixed.
Thank you.
Just overall, how do we compare with some of our fellow districts around? Can you give us a, or should we ask that question?
You're more than welcome to ask it. We'd have to do some really digging into comparisons, and we don't like to compare year to year because, like you said, stuff happens. Like you implement a new financial system and you're overhauling something you've used for the last 20 years. I don't want to say you can't expect issues to happen, but you're doing a lot at once with financial reporting while trying to do all your normal duties. So a lot going on there. So it makes it a lot more difficult to avoid any issues in financial reporting. I'd say when it comes to some of these items, very average or typical to the Arizona school districts.
But in terms of compliance to the USFR procurement, there was no findings there. our student attendance records were pretty much in line. So, we're getting better. I mean, one of these days we'll hit excellence. And even then, we just got a certificate of it.
still have the board.
Yes, we do.
33 years in a row, right?
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there a motion?
I move, yes, Mr. Crouch. I would like to move that we approve the 2017-2018 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is revision of the 2018-19 annual expenditure budget. Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Crouch, board members. Attached to the agenda item tonight is the proposed or revision number 1 to the 2018-19 school budget. The revision is necessitated as a result of, one, the budget balance carry forward was revised. We projected back last July that our prior year FY18 budget balance carry forward was going to be $4 million. After we finalized all the expenditures and closed the books for FY18, we determined that our actual budget balance carry forward was $4,986,143. So we had an increase of $986,143 to the M&O budget. The other reason why we have to revise our budget is because of the change in funding in terms of how school districts are funded, going away from the prior year ADM, going to current year enrollment. We adopted a budget based on a projected ADM of 15,342. The actual 2018-19 ADM was 15,217.833, a decrease of 124.762 students. There was also some adjustments to our Group B student counts, the Group B students being students with special ed, different very special ed categories, our ELL, our K3 student count. There was a decrease of 23.155 total weighted count on the Group B side, and the total revised total weighted count decreased by 168.237. This decrease translates into a reduction of $679,212 to our budget. So we had 986 increase because of the budget balance carry forward, 679 decrease because of the enrollment, and then there was some minor adjustments where we cleaned up the capital and M&O rollover. The net increase to the M&O budget is going to be 147,000. What is it? I'm sorry. 149,715. The other adjustment that was made, and I mentioned this, is a cleanup of the M&O and unrestricted capital outlay transfers. You know, the law allows for M&O amounts be transferred or rolled over to M&O to capital, and then capital rolled over to M&O. But 10 years ago, we started rolling over M&O to capital. No, capital to M&O. Then we started rolling over M&O to capital. And then last year, we did some rollovers to account for some raises that we weren't sure whether or not we had revenue. So we had almost an equal amount of M&O going to capital as capital going to M&O. There's a $155,000 difference. So we just cleaned it up. That way the state can say, why is Sunnyside rolling over some capital outlay into M&O? Then you must not need capital outlay. Well, that's not the case. So we cleaned it. M&O's on the M&O side, capital's on the capital side. So we now have a capital outlay budget, after cleaning it up, of increasing by $17,540. The adjustments to the other portions of the budget, the federal and state projects, were all made in line with the actual awards that were made. And if you have any questions, I'll be more happy to answer. If not, I'd ask the governing board to approve the FY 18-19 expenditure budget as submitted.
Any questions from the board? No.
I'd like to move that we approve the attached 2018-2019 annual expenditure budget revision number 1 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda is approval to exceed subsections of 2018-19 Maintenance and Operations Annual Expenditure Budget. Surprise, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, first of all, for approving the prior agenda item. And that agenda item basically revised the budget based on our best guess as far as how our expenditures would take place within M&O. The M&O budget is broken into three major categories: regular ed, special ed, and transportation. Those are the subsections of the M&O budget: regular ed, M&O, and transportation. The law states basically that unless the governing board approves over exceeding any subsection of the budget, so long as the total budget isn't exceeded, if you had an over expenditure in transportation and the governing board had not taken action to approve the over expenditure in transportation, we'd be stuck with an over expenditure of transportation. So this is an annual request made to the governing board to seek your approval, and that in the event we overexpend in a subsection of the budget, be it special ed or transportation, that you grant approval that over expenditure be allowed to be carried by or covered by an under expenditure in the regular ed.
Any discussion? Ms. Dahl?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the authorization to exceed subsections of the 2018-2019 M&O budget as requested.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crutch?
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Encinas.
Thank you, Mr. Encinas.
Next item on the agenda is a request to hold a special governing board meeting. Mr. Holmes?
Yes, President Crouch, members of the governing board. I'd like to request, it's the time of the year where we set goals for the year, the superintendent goals. So I'm looking at dates. We need to approve superintendent goals by the board meeting of July 9th. Okay, that's the latest we can go by statute, according to our contract. So one of the recommendations I have in terms of setting up a special meeting would be potentially doing goals on the right before the 25th, maybe starting at 5. We can have do a special meeting at 5 p.m. on the 25th and try to complete our goal setting by that evening. Because we have until the next board meeting, we can also take that time to study and make some revisions back and forth, and then have them for approval on the 9th, July 9th meeting. And if needed, we can request additional time, but I think we could get a lot accomplished if we meet on the 5 p.m. on the 25th. I'm sorry, 25th of June, and then maybe exchange some back and forth on whatever we draft in preparation for approval on the 9th of July.
Any discussion from the board?
What time on June 25th?
Thinking 5 p.m.?
That's doable.
And I'll probably be calling in,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Okay.
For,
We can find a location here, just so that we're, in the area, so that we can, more than likely somewhere here, we can maybe order lunch, so this we can come straight to the dais in case we're running tight. Okay. So we can do a motion?
put it in here real quick, because I'll forget. So that's at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
1700.
Okay.
It's a lot easier.
I move that we set a special governing board meeting for June 25th at 5 o'clock for goal setting.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye, motion passes. Now we have a request for executive session. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve the governing board members recess into executive session for discussion of personnel pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye, motion passes. We're going to recess into executive session. We're resuming our board meeting, and what we have now is the results of the executive session.
Mr. Crouch.
Ms. Dong?
I would like to move that the appointment of Diana McDonald, principal at Gallego Primary K-3 for the 2019-2020 school year, and be placed on step 8.
Second. Second.
Yeah. Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Diane.
Now we
Ms. Dong?
I would like to recommend that we approve the appointment of Teresa Tenaz, principal at Star Academic High School for the 2019-2020 school year, and be placed on step 15.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations. Ms. Dong?
Mr. Crouch, I would like to move that we approve the appointment of John Belisario, principal at Lawford Middle School for the 2019-2020 school year, and be placed on step 17.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Go.
Mr. Crouch, I would like to recommend that we adjourn.
Well, do we have any suggestions for future agenda items first?
Sorry, I'm trying to get out of here.
Hearing none, we have no unfinished business. Ms. Dong, would you like to make your motion?
I'd like to move that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Aye.
Mr. Crouch?
Aye. Motion passes. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Thank you.